Grand National Dirt Track Racing. Its heroes are many, true legends are few. Carol Russ-Weber, symbol of perfection, four-time champion in the early 60s. The total domination of Scotty Parker through the 80s and the 90s. Now add to that list the gritty determination and style of Rockin' Ricky Graham. Through history, 7 men have won 3 championships, but Ricky's hat trick was like no other. His 3rd title in 1993, one for the record books. Graham no longer walks the Grand National pits, but we all remember him so well.
The first time I really remember ever seeing Ricky Graham, he was riding for Tex Peel. And boy, Tex had a lot of faith in that guy, and all of a sudden he saw something in him, and bang, then we all saw something in him. And of course the rest of that's just history. We saw him from then on just blistering everybody. They can say what they want to, but he was the greatest.
Ricky Graham? Oh, he's you know, obviously talent-wise, desire-wise, he's got to be, you know, one at the top, no question. You know, his name will be etched in the history of the sport book. I mean, it's without doubt. He's accomplished some things that may never be repeated.
He would do things, and you thought, man, that can't be done on a motorcycle, you know, and he'd go out and do it anyway. And no matter what the bike was like or you know, what conditions the track were, when it come time to race, you knew he was going to be right there.
I remember watching Ricky on the mile in San Jose and just thought, how can a guy go so fast? Running around with different people in this sport, I've seen people go fast, and Ricky was definitely one of the fastest ones, and that's my first impression, was he never shut off the throttle.
I've raced against a lot of the champs over the last, 15 years. Raced against guys like Randy Goss, Jay Springsteen, Scott Parker, Bubba Schobert. Of all the former champions that I ever raced against, I never came across a tougher competitor than what I came across with him in 1993 when he won the championship. It's the one thing I'll remember him by the most, that on that particular year he was tougher to beat than any other champion I ever raced against.
Graham's trip to dirt track immortality began in 1978. He'd paid a lot of dues. Then he won his first national 2 years later, on the mile, naturally, at Indianapolis. In 1982, he won his first championship. It was how he won it that made him a hero. In August at Peoria, Illinois, this horrendous moment. Watch it again. Appreciate the violence of dirt track gone wrong. The crash broke Ricky's back. That's bad enough. We had all feared something worse. In any case, in that anguished moment of waiting for news, we understood that his title hopes were badly threatened. But he picked himself up, strapped on a back brace, and raced on, bent but unbowed. His place in Grand National history assured, the privateer champion who beat the great Springsteen in an epic battle of eventual Hall of Famers. He carried #1 so proudly, scored 5 national wins, a remarkable 16 top 5s. Against the vaunted Harley-Davidson factory team, he was the hero of the independents and of a growing legion of fans. But his quest fell 8 points short. He lost #1 to Randy Goss. 84 marked the turning point he dreamed of all his life. His new past champ single-digit #3 bolted onto a factory bike, complete with big salary, team mechanics. But to the chagrin of the Milwaukee faithful, it was a factory Honda. Ricky's lifestyle improved. His winning ways continued. He and teammates Bubba Schobert and Doug Chandler tried to take the title back from Harley-Davidson. Ricky went to the season's finale, Springfield, Illinois, sitting on a big lead. He could have stroked around, ensured himself a second championship, but Ricky didn't know the meaning of stroke. He was racing for the lead when disaster came calling again. He was on the ground while his title rivals raced on. Miraculously, he got that bike running again.
I'm really comfortable at Springfield, and I was just riding around with everybody and trying to stay real wide and everything when I was going around the corners, giving everybody plenty of room. But Ted Booty was just the kind of racer that you know, he would take you out really, and he just clipped my handlebar, you know, going underneath me and just took me out, and that's the first time I've ever crashed on a mile, and started the bike back up and got going again. You know, to this day I don't know how I got that thing going as easy as it got going too. Because if I wouldn't have got it going again, I wouldn't have won the championship.
The dramatic news came this way. It was quite a celebration by again picking himself up from the dirt, by dragging his injured body back onto that 130-mile-an-hour machine that had just spit him off so violently. Graham again reigned as #1. His splint was the talk of the post-race press conference. He smiled through the pain as the wonder of his second title slowly soaked in. But fame is fleeting. A little more than a year later, after a strong but unsuccessful title defense, Ricky was again a privateer. Honda had cut back its team.
I was really shocked, to be honest, because I thought, you know, I'd come back and done real well, and won some races at the end of the year, and thought everything was going to be fine. And then Gene Romero called up and said that we had both gotten fired.
Ricky's days as the factory-backed big gun were over. Others now basked in the Grand National Dirt Track spotlight, raced for love of the game and to ensure their places in the history of the sport, carved careers that would take them around the world, wrote their own chapters in the record book while cashing those big factory checks.
And I thought, man, I gotta make money. And then I couldn't ride good trying hard to make money, you know, just I was tight at the races. And I couldn't even qualify. And that same year they started the Camel Challenges, and I didn't even make hardly any of them because I was just trying so hard that nothing was flowing properly, you know.
Graham's struggle went on for 5 long winless seasons. It finally ended in '91. A Skip Eakin Honda and Ricky Graham's consummate skills put the man called Mr. Springfield back in victory circle. He beat the best in the business at the track where he earned his nickname. Ricky was back again, and the boys all took notice. '92 was a year of setting the stage. Johnny Goad put Ricky on a good bike. With the backing of Team Undo's Jim Landis, Graham had a first-class effort with which to challenge the factory Harleys of Parker and Carr. The horsepower wasn't quite there yet, though, and Carr claimed his long-sought title with Rocket Ricky hot on his heels. Was the runner-up disappointed? Not a bit.
A lot of people ask me, you know, how come you can't beat Chris and Scotty? Right now, I'm up there back on the level, but when you're racing for the #1 championship, you're on a total different level than all the other riders. And this year was a building year for us. You know, real happy with what we did. Next year we got to get some more horsepower, and we'll be beating them.
Those may have been the most prophetic words in Grand National history. Graham didn't just beat him in '93. He showed up in the best shape of his life, eager as a colt, talented as ever, tempered by years of experience. 9 years, in fact, after his last #1 plate, he set out to take that baby back at San Jose in the spring. He won his first mile track heat race of the season by the length of the straightaway.
Well, I feel stronger. Last year was, you know, our first year of a comeback, getting back into, you know, this racing, and you know, I've got a beautiful bike. Johnny Goat prepares here, and it does. It feels a lot better than last year.
But the proof is always at the pay window. After years of not qualifying for those lucrative Camel Challenge races, Ricky was finally ready to win one. That he beat the champion Carr only made the check cashing sweeter.
We got a really good racing team this year, but we still don't have a lot of big sponsors. So, hey, this all goes right back into the races, and we're going for the main event. Let's go!
Still the privateer hero, still chasing the orange and black. Graham was at least now doing it on TV.
Graham has to be feeling increasingly desperate because he can now sense, I think, that whenever he wants to, Parker can get by him where it matters. Still, Ricky will make his move. He'll use the part where he's strongest and get it deep into turn #3 and hope to force some sort of a mistake or figure out a way to shake off Scott Parker. It takes an awful lot to get Parker off your tail, though. White flag.
Well, it all gets down to this now. Do you lead? Do you follow? What do you do? Well, Scotty just thought, I'll just lead. That's what I've been doing all race long. I'll stick it into 1 and 2 and see if he'll return the favor down the back chute.
Is there any hope that Graham could follow him into 3 and maybe be able to draft Scotty, or is Scotty just too strong?
He's got to know that he has a hard time with 3 and 4. Ricky's best hope is to really poke it off in here and get a big lead.
He'll run her in deep. This doesn't look much different than the last couple of laps. And if Parker really comes at him early off the corner, doesn't want to take a chance of getting away, Ricky slipping and sliding a little bit, and that's what's been chewing him up. Here's the inevitable, I think, run to the checker. Yeah, it's Parker, not by a lot.
Indeed, from a close second at San Jose, it was on to Sacramento. A daytime setup for a nighttime mile. Closest stop on the Grand National Tour to Ricky's Northern California home. But it was also familiar territory for the champion. Here was Carr's opportunity to display the #1 plate to all the fans who watched him come up through the ranks at nearby Lodi Speedway. Larry Myers chatted up the favorites.
Dave, I took a quick trip through the record book, and what I found was that San Jose Mile was the 11th time that these two guys had gone head-to-head and finished first and second. Now, Rick, I've got to tell you that your pal Scott Parker has come out on top, I think 8 of those 11. Are you going to let that happen all season long?
Well, I hope not. At least this year, it seems that I'm up here drafting with Scotty. Last year, I had a hard time, even catching his draft and having a chance to win one of these mile track races. So it's, I'm a lot more excited about it this year.
Scott, RG is back, definitely back, and I know that it's your intention to keep that Harley out in front of his motorcycle, but he's going to be tough.
Oh yeah, especially it's one of them other brands, and we don't like them other brands up there. We like it Harley Davidson all the way, and he seems to be going real good. He's got fast time here so far tonight, and just shows you them guys went back to the garage and did a little bit of work, and it should lead for an exciting 1993.
Another prophetic observation. And Graham did everything possible to add to that excitement. He jumped the start of the main event and was banished to the back row. This is not Springfield, where a guy can hop in the middle of a 13 or 14 rider freight train and take his time getting to the front. Sure enough, the 4-rider breakaway was all Harleys. Kevin Atherton, Parker, Carr, and Mike Hale having his best night ever on the mile. They quickly opened a gap on the field of the half straightaway, while Graham struggled in traffic. Compounding the challenge for one who would come from the back was the nature of the track.
This racing groove is no more than a couple of bikes wide. To go 3 wide and make the pass takes a bit of courage.
It was a courageous move on Chris's part, but he gave him room. And now here comes Ricky Graham, and he just runs it in there. He's moving up, and he wants to get a hold of the leaders right now.
He got by clean. Those are the Jones boys that he passed. Ricky Graham is in 5th place. He has charged through the traffic. He worked his way in a single lap around 92 Ferris, 16 Jones, and 23 Lance Jones. A remarkable performance for Ricky Graham. These 4 are still ahead of him. The problem being a huge chunk of racetrack between 4th and 5th. I'm not sure he can run them down, especially all by himself.
Well, even for Graham, that was a bit much to ask. The front foursome went off and settled it among them, but Ricky's charge had served further notice. He was a better team than in 1992. For Graham, the return to Springfield in May of '93 was a career moment. On his favorite track, where he had scored an unequaled 7 previous wins, he would race before a special audience. Craig T. Nelson, coach, longtime admirer of the sport, making a movie about dirt track. The plot took a twist when Graham did a deja vu, jumped the line again, this time with a lot of company, and started the race from the penalty stripe. But Ricky was not about to let another miscue spoil his Sunday afternoon fun. ESPN showed America the ride.
3 men on the front row. Scott Parker says thank you very much and charges into turn 1 with a huge lead. Watch for number 3 and number 1. There is Carr on the bottom. Ricky Graham up on the top of the racetrack. He's already passed 3 or 4 people. Ooh, charges right into the middle of that pack, and he's going to be midfield or better by the end of the first lap. Atherton, 23, with a very bad head shake on that motorcycle as the field hammer through turns 3 and 4 on the first lap. You got a glimpse of Terry Poovey, number 18, all the way at the back. Ow! Man, I like that shot. Green flag. Atherton is there with Jones, and Ricky Graham on the inside is 3rd. after starting from the penalty line. This guy goes fast at Springfield.
He must have had his eyes closed that first lap. I don't know how he did that, but he certainly did it.
Well, he did, and Chris Carr must have had his eyes open because he followed Graham right up into contention inside the top 5.
What followed here was classic Springfield, a position-swapping, full-throttle drafting battle of remarkable proportion for second place. Ricky Graham was so far ahead of the best guys in the sport, they had trouble seeing him at the finish. The late Rodney Ferris was inspired to his career-best finish by his eagerness to congratulate the winner. For Johnny Goad, his long and often tested faith rewarded with a victory hug.
Well, just, you know, it's kind of cool out today, so I didn't think we'd have a tire problem. So I thought, let's just go ahead and, you know, just run the thing as fast as we can. Try not to burn out the tires, keep the wheels in line, and just go. And I was tempted to look back, but I didn't. And the only thing that made me happier is to see Rodney and Mike second and third.
With that generous gesture to his fellow privateers, Ricky headed into the heart of the season. He bore the scars of previous battle, the apprehension of chasing success in arenas where success had come hard.
Spent a lot of time in my career not really getting too excited about these half miles back here in the Midwest, and we weren't raised on these type of racetracks as Steve Moorhead, Scotty, Jay Springsteen, the guys from the Midwest, and they tend to get real slippery and kind of hard to ride. So I just I used to not get too excited about them, but I've changed my outlook on the whole half mile scene, and I'm just it's the same racetrack for everybody, and I know if I put my heart to it, I can win them.
The key word is heart. At Lima, Ohio, Ricky not only won, but he softened the hearts of a few of the Harley faithful, winning the Sportster Performance Series on an HD before taking the main on his Honda. A week later, the series celebrated 4th of July in Parker's home state of Michigan. Graham provided all the fireworks and spoiled the homeboys' party. His third national win of the year and second in 7 days came at Scotty's expense by a margin that allowed for a nice victory wheelie. When you add the Lima 883 win, it was 3 straight on tracks he used to hate.
It's unbelievable. Really unbelievable for me because I've been through so much, since 85 when I lost a Honda ride. Didn't win a national through from 1985 till about 91. Those are some tough years of my life, and to make a comeback like this is really emotional for me right now.
And that emotion fed on itself. On the red clay half mile at Hagerstown, Maryland, a week later, Graham again demonstrated his newfound mastery of the slick stuff. The victory wheelie gets better with practice. He swept the 883 and Grand National mains, 5 wins in 6 starts on half-mile tracks, 3 straight Grand National victories. The next weekend, a huge opportunity. A mile track doubleheader and a chance to make history.
We are getting late in the Syracuse Mile. Ricky Graham is leading consistently, and neither Carr nor Parker have been able to draft back by him the last couple of laps. Atherton is desperately hanging on to 4th spot, and it looks more and more like Graham may be able to do what has never been done before, to win 5 of these races in a row. Are Parker and Carr working together with the draft to try to run him down?
No, I think they're working independently right now. It's a free-for-all. It's best man, everybody have at it.
Well, it has all come down to this. 1 lap to go. Steve Ferracci waves the white flag over Ricky Graham, Chris Carr, Scott Parker, and Kevin Atherton. Ricky Graham is a half-mile away from history if he can hold off the Harley factory team through turn 3 and turn 4. Carr is there as they turn for home. Graham runs it in deep, down through the little dip. Parker slid wide. Parker is off in the loose stuff. It's a 2-man battle for the victory. Carr is in perfect position to draft. Here they come to the finish line. Ooh, Carr got by, but I don't know if he beat him before the stripe. Did Graham make history or not? The photo finish camera is directly at the start-finish line. Yes, Graham has been declared the winner. Here's how it looked from our angle. Past start-finish, it is a virtual dead heat, but Graham got there first. Graham wins the 5th race in a row, a new AMA record.
Number one for the weekend and focused on the championship, Graham chose this opportunity to tell his fans on television the dark and painful side of his story. Rocket Ricky dominated the sport in the early 80s, won 2 championships. Then he got hurt, lost his factory ride, began a long, slow slide that bottomed out early in 1990. The memories come hard.
Just, I'd gotten in trouble, with drinking. I got in trouble. I got pulled over on the way to a race and going to Pomona, and I just got detained by the law because I was drinking. So I had to. That wasn't the night before the race. I still could have went to the race, but then after it happened, I just didn't feel up to it, so I didn't go. I just didn't go, and I just don't know why I didn't do it. It was real strange, because I knew I was really throwing away my career at that time. I was driving down the road going, what am I doing? I mean, I just couldn't believe it.
Actually, bike owner Skip Eakin gave Ricky a second chance, and he responded by winning the Springfield Mile in May of '91. But then he was arrested again for driving while intoxicated, and Eakin dropped him. Ricky's battle with alcohol addiction was a textbook case. He was the last to know he had a problem.
I was racing. I was trying to do the best I could. You don't realize it when it's happening. And hell, I didn't know that I was, worrying everybody sick about what I was doing. But you just don't know when you're doing it.
Graham soon found an ally in Johnny Goad, who acknowledged Ricky's drinking problem and gave him a ride anyway.
So at San Jose Mile, when Johnny took me aside, he said, hey, I really think you can really beat these guys. And he goes, and everybody says that you can. He goes, and I think you can. And he goes, and I want to do it with you. And that was the end of '91. And then that's when, then we went into the off season, and I was still going along, and it got to be about December, and then I just said, okay, that's it. I'm not gonna drink anymore. I just started getting serious.
Drinking behind him, Graham has climbed steadily back to the peak of his profession. Winning has become routine, but beating the bottle was the victory that mattered most.
Obviously, alcohol is very addictive, and it's not easy just to put the bottle down, and it's kind of hard to do, and I was going through a hard time, but then finally I just did it. I had to either go and get some help or something like that, which I didn't want to do, and or just do it myself. So I just did it.
Years later, those words are painful and poignant. Johnny and Sarah Goad believed in Ricky Graham and gave him a chance to show the world his best, his unique ability and courage. All of us, all of Ricky's fans, try to remember him that way. Johnny doesn't hesitate when asked the moment he saw Ricky at his best.
Oklahoma City. I gave up on him. He was out there racing around like 9th to 10th place, about 15th lap, and I said, Ricky, get a 5th anyway. So, that's the worst we've done all year. And he just kept coming, And that right there was, all he did was just back off the throttle and stay off the brakes.
And I'm proud of that night because all of America saw Graham at his best. Parker and Jones were side by side. That, I believe, was 9th and 10th. Davis, remember, his first pass of the night was around the outside. He's still making that line work as he comes up alongside Carr. I thought he had him. He broke loose for a moment, and Carr hangs on. Ferris has caught them. He is now 4th. Ricky Graham is 6th. He's up behind Jay Springsteen in his quest to win a 6th straight race. He's got an awful lot of ground to make up.
I was leading the race and going away, and Ricky came through the pack, ran me down, and beat me with about 3 or 4 laps to go. And I probably had a straightaway or more on him at one time, and he put on a charge that that's unbelievable to come from that far back and be able to win a race. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I remember that race.
That's not an easy track to pass on, and he came from 8th or 9th and a ways back and put it on us pretty badly.
We're back in Oklahoma City, and look who's on the move. Number 3, Ricky Graham, has run down the leaders and is around Rodney Ferris. Graham, in his quest for a 6th straight national victory, is just charging. He's alongside Moorhead now, and remember, he came from deep in the pack. How does a guy, Bill, come to life halfway through the race and start passing the likes of these people who have led the whole way?
Well, it's very difficult because he just finds different lines. He makes the motorcycle work where the others aren't. That's the key. He's able to go where the others aren't and make it work just as good, if not better.
Ricky Graham is 2nd. Chris Carr is in his sight. 10 laps ago, Graham wasn't even part of the story. We were talking about Rodney Ferris, number 92, as a potential winner, or wondering if it was going to be Moorhead or Carr who had the good stuff at the end. Now, suddenly, Ricky Graham, as he has all season, has become the dominant rider in the race. He's won 5 straight. He's going for 6. He's all over Chris Carr, and I get the feeling this is inevitable. If you can run it by all those other guys, you can run it by Chris, and Ricky does.
Yeah, Ricky just run it in underneath them just like he was on a rail, and boy, Chris was startled, I'm sure. Let's see if Chris has something left for him.
I wonder if Carr had any idea that Graham was coming.
I don't think so. I mean, that happened in a heartbeat. Chris is looking to see if any more people are coming along. I think the battle, though, is up front, and Ricky Graham just looks invincible right now.
White flag flies, 1 lap to go. Carr has one more opportunity. He runs up along the outside, now looks to the inside, and then slips. And that may be the difference. That rear wheel spun for just a moment, and Ricky Graham is gone. He's opened up 2-3 bike legs. Carr comes back on the bottom. Now, too little, too late. Ricky Graham has won his 6th consecutive Grand National victory. Team Undo will celebrate again tonight.
Yeah, it was a tough race, because I was way back in probably 7th or something. And those guys were pulling away from me for a long time. And finally I got something going a little after the halfway mark, started working a little bit better. But, it was fun. I had to work real hard for it. I'd rather have to do that than be out there just waiting for everybody. The track was changing a lot, so it was to my advantage to have to come from behind.
Carr and Graham met again the following week on Carr's favorite track, the Peoria TT. Ricky is Mr. Springfield. Chris is the Prince of Peoria. Graham won back-to-back events at this historic track in '84 and '85. Carr won in '86 and had peeled off 6 wins and 8 starts there since. He led handily again in '93, determined to finally stop Graham's amazing streak of consecutive Grand National victories at 6 in a row. It was apparent throughout that Graham had his hands full. He eventually lost 2nd place to pursuers Mike Hale and Ronnie Jones. 11 years after his disastrous trip over that backstretch jump, the win streak ended.
No, it was fantastic. I've been on a high for the last 2 months. It's just unbelievable. Just walking on cloud 9. Can't thank Johnny Goad, Danny Malfatti, everybody involved in our team enough. Lisa has been with me, my fiance, and Jim Landis, Sarah, everybody. We've been on a cloud. It's been unbelievable, and it's kind of good that it's over, but I'm ready to start another one at Rapid City.
Indeed, Ricky won Rapid City, ran 3rd at Dallas, won Indy, and came to Springfield with a chance to clinch his 3rd championship and write one more page in his record book for Grand National wins in a single season.
Anytime you can get a record, it's really nice. When Bubba Schobert and Scotty Parker were winning all the races back in the after I rode for Honda and everything, and I saw those guys, and I knew I could do it. If things were going right. So it's a good feeling to get up there and pass Bubba in the standings and get up there with Scotty, or in the win standings, and get up there with him. So they're my buddies, so it's kind of a rivalry.
8 riders have 2 laps to go. They are in a bundle as they head into turn 1. Parker takes the lead. Graham with all that corner speed right on his rear wheel. Carr is third. He needs to go forward, and he dare not go backward if he wants to hang on to that #1 number plate. And 38-year-old Moorhead, roaring and snorting around here, says, watch me beat on these kids here. He is in contention for his best mile finish in a long, long time. He's won on the mile. Years ago that happened. The white flag waits. We're getting down to it. Across the start finish line, the final mile at Springfield, and it's Moorhead who takes the lead in turn 1. He's around Graham. Graham will try to knife back underneath, can't get there. Moorhead, with that strong Skip Eakin horsepower, leads him down the back chute. This would be a huge upset. He pulls out a 2-bike length lead. Here comes Carr up on the top. Graham takes the bottom. Graham's going to try to lead it off the final turn. Graham is going to try to win the race and the championship. Carr back there in third. Oh, here comes Parker around the outside of Carr. They're first and fourth. This could be it. Graham down to the wire. Graham wins it. Carr is fourth. It's over. Graham has won the race and the championship. Ricky Graham breaks the all-time single-season win record. Ricky Graham completes the most incredible season in Grand National history.
First came the excitement, then the emotion. The passing of the championship emblem.
Ricky Graham, there's a whole lot we can say about your performance this year. I know I got pretty sick and tired of seeing number 3 in front of me all year long, but I know that in 1994 that you're going to have a number 1 on your back, and we're going to be hunting your ass next time. I think I speak for all the riders in the pit area. We really admire the comeback that you've made in your life, the turnaround that you've shown and grown over the years. And I'd like to give you the number 1 plate off my spare motorcycle that was sitting in my pits today for a job well done on a great year, man.
The championship decided, the concession speech eloquently delivered by the dethroned king of the sport, the heroes of dirt track moved on to the series finale. The Fairgrounds track at Pomona, California is a big half mile. It favors a guy willing to steer it with the throttle. As this epic 93 season came to its conclusion, the only remaining question was how high Graham would leave the mark for generations of future hot shoes. The championship in hand, he could have cruised, but he'd long since proved he was no cruiser. Ricky at his best always came to win. There are a lot of ways to go fast on a dirt tracker. All require courage and skill beyond the imagination of mere mortals. But at the end of the day, the best way to leave your mark on this sport is wide open and around the outside. There was a great race that night. For second place, Ricky didn't see much of it.
But up front, the real story of 1993, I find it remarkable that Ricky Graham had won a handful of half-mile races in his career, and yet he's dominated the half miles this season, and I'm sure you can explain in great detail the reason why that's true.
God, I wish I could, because I don't have a clue. He's just got it all together. You're right. He hasn't been a dominant player on the half miles, and he's certainly been exactly that this year.
Are you among those who subscribe to the theory that there really is something trick about that motorcycle that's made it work better on the half miles, or is it just the way he's riding?
I think it's a combination of both. I think he's put in a dedicated effort this year, and they have an excellent motorcycle with great backing. It's a combination of things.
Well, they've certainly got the thumbs up from Lisa Foreman and from everybody else in Grand National Racing. Ricky Graham on his final tour of the Pomona Half Mile. Ricky Graham will set the all-time single-season win record at 12. He has 11. His 11th victory clinched the championship. This is purely icing on the cake. And sweet indeed was the taste of victory number 12. All season, the best in AMA dirt track competition had chased Graham in vain, fought their own battles for leftovers, and now it was time to reflect.
Well, I was telling Johnny Goad, before the main event that 2 years ago when I raced for Johnny here, I did not sign a single autograph after the races. So that tells you where, we were 2 years ago. So just a phenomenal comeback, and, I just have to dedicate it to Johnny giving me the chance to ride the Hondas again. They were Hondas that he had gotten from Honda when I rode for him, so I was confident with the motorcycles. Johnny Goad and Sarah and Danny Malfatti, Jim Landis from Tier 4. We put together the Undo Racing team, and it was just a combination of everybody working hard together, and it got me pumped up, and we did it.
Oh, they did it all right. Did it together. Did it as a team. Did it to prove a point. Did it better than it has ever been done before, perhaps better than it will ever be done again. But in the end, he did it. For all the support and love and mechanical genius the team provide, in the end it is one man who sits alone in the saddle, twists the throttle, tests his skill and courage, and does all this for reasons all his own in the face of challenges we may never understand. For his heroics, Ricky Graham won trophies and money and championships and respect and admiration and love and a permanent place in our hearts and in our memories.
Kind of guy when it came to race day that all he wanted to do was get it on. He wanted to have fun and race hard, and I think that's what he wants to be remembered most by, that and the fact that he felt he was a good person, and which I believe too.
You know, he helped me live my dream, you know, and that meant a lot to me.
As a racer. That's how Ricky Graham would want to be remembered, as a racer. He was a racer and he could ride a motorcycle, and he knew he could ride a motorcycle. When he got on it, he felt at home.
I miss him being here racing, you know. I still thought I seen him, you know. And so there's somebody else here in the racetrack, and I thought, oh, wow, that was Ricky, but and no, it ain't, you know.
At DeCoin, Brian went out in his heat race, and he came in, he said, I never shut the throttle off. I never shut the throttle off. And I said, Ricky was on there with you.